Good evening, viewers, and welcome back to Startup Speaks. Now, this session is brought to you jointly by the Department of Information Technology and Electronics, Government of West Bengal, in conjunction with Nascom 10,000 Startups. Now, this wouldn't have been possible without the kind and generous support of the Government of West Bengal, Nascom Industry Partnership Program, and of course, our broadcasting partner, Proho.in. Now, today's episode is the first of a three-part series, and that's based on the NIPP Retail Tech Challenge 2021. Let's explain this further. The Nascom Industry Partnership Program, or NIPP, is India's largest open innovation platform that's designed to foster sustained engagement between large corporates on the one hand and innovative tech enterprises in the ecosystem on the other. And the competition, which was recently concluded, aimed to catalyze the engagement between corporates and innovative technology ventures by connecting the emerging solutions with the most pressing needs and the most pressing industry problems in the retail sector. Now, this, as you can imagine, was a massive undertaking. The NIPP Retail Tech Challenge 2021, overall, it involved more than 222 applications for 34 different use cases, and it entailed the participation of 8 corporate houses. Now, after several rounds of discussion and evaluation, screening, mentorship, the top 25 startups were chosen, followed by the eventual selection of 9 winners. Okay, and we are very fortunate that today with us, we have 3 of the stars from our competition that was recently concluded. So we have with us Vijay Chandra, who is the co-founder and CEO of Plum5.com. With him, Jimmy Padilla, founder and CEO, Floatbot, and last but not the least, Ankush, who's just joined us. So Ankush Sabharwal, founder and CEO of CoreOver. A very warm welcome. Very good evening to you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Vijay, why don't I get started with you? Right?
Yeah.
Now, if one takes a look at your profile, goes to your website, checks out the details, the first thing that comes across is that your company, your venture, believes in solving simple as well as complex marketing problems through robust intelligence. Particularly, you talk about the focus on something that you called the segment of one. So I'm very curious about this particular venture, and maybe you might also want to start by taking us a little bit through your entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, thanks, Avik. So Plum5 as a name, I would probably put it that way. The name itself is talking about plumbing. Plumb begins with plumbing something, fixing something, data pipes and stuff like that. So this is all about the number depiction is about 5 customer life stages, right? So we are talking about 5 high-level customer life stages that one goes through, and that's how we formed them. So basically, the startup venture as such just got into our heads is because of when we practically, in our corporate life, we witnessed those problems. And the solutions were not visible right in front of you to immediately pick on, and you always knew that you had to do something. And the evolution of digital, the way it caught up the pace, actually gave us impetus to actually really look forward to it. So we kind of really got into understanding this line very well. So it was a very prepared, not accidental startup. It was a very well prepared one to get into this venture. And then we began in 2013 is when we went private limited. The company is called Decisive Analytical Systems Private Limited. We formed it along with my 3 other co-founders. And the whole idea is to solve complex marketing problems. And today those problems are existing because of the dynamism in the ecosystem. It's all about digital. Today you've got the purchasing power on your mobile, decision-making power instantly, not that you've got to go anywhere and then do it. So when you have that kind of an audience, it's a customer who defines the rules and not businesses. Businesses just have to follow, right? So with that notion, we believed in understanding the customer journey Basically, we would like to understand the customer journey across touch points so that we complement every single touch point of a customer or a business today in digital. He could be in omni-channel, right? He could be web, he could be mobile, it could be email, it could be SMS, social, and then different apps and stuff like that. So with this kind of a dynamism, you love to make something very interesting to solve. And that we believed in unifying the data sources in one single place, connect every other touch point campaigns, and then make sure that you provide a customer state or probably omni-channel or probably segment of one, single source of truth. These are the kind of names that the industry is coined it. But the truth is, you need to have your customer data so that you know how to deliver what your customer needs. So we built a platform which drives intelligence and automation. So that's
Right.
Plum5.
Absolutely. Vijay, just looking at your profile, right? I was also noticing in terms of your career trajectory, right? There are very many startup entrepreneurs, and many of whom we've interviewed here on this particular program, who've literally been entrepreneurs right from the time that they were in college, and they never went into a job, and they straight away were entrepreneurs, and they've been serial entrepreneurs ever since, right? In contrast to that, you've had a fairly long and distinguished, I think more than 12, 13 years plus, right? Working at Xerox and before that at ICI. And I'm wondering how that corporate experience at various levels of seniority, right, over the years, shaped maybe your methodology and also to your way, your strategy of managing your business, of managing people, managing deliverables.
Yeah. I would thank Xerox, my erstwhile company where I quit, that's an institution, I would say. It put me in the right perspectives in my growth path, and I kind of literally understood a lot of things and learned a lot of things. And that is when I went into business school, did my MBA, just to know really what actually it matters. So again, the affinity to analytics was again because of one of my previous roles. The last roles probably was Lean Six Sigma business leader. So basically I was certified. I got that certification. I did the course and I implemented that to get certified. And that actually helped me understand how data could actually solve the problems. So that is where the culmination of my efforts in sales and marketing today made me realize that there was a big opportunity awaiting if we solve the problem which a true marketing person or a salesperson actually witnesses because of lack of data or disparate data. So this is basically the problem, and that's where we thought that we could bring the story together.
Great.
That's how.
So Vijay, we are going to come back to you for lots more questions to delve into the USP. In the meantime, let me go on to Jimmy. So Jimmy, why don't you take us through your entrepreneurial journey and tell us maybe a little bit more in detail about the inspiration that led to launching Floatbot?
Sure, Avik. Basically, after I graduated from VJTI Mumbai in 2005, I joined a large corporate called General Electric, GE, where I was fortunate to work in India, US, China, a little bit of Latin America, and led few critical projects across different businesses of GE in short span of 5 years. And I wanted to do my MBA from one of the elite schools in US, like Stanford or Harvard, but I couldn't get through. So, it was accidentally, I became an entrepreneur. So I come from a business family background. So, I left my job and decided to become an entrepreneur in 2011. So I started with services company. So ran the company for roughly 5 years. Did a lot of things on communication, chat, voice, in telecom domain mostly, and really got bored with the services.
So this is JPC. So is this JPC Technologies?
That's right, Avik. So yeah, that's absolutely right. So, I mean, I always, and that's when all this, we were hearing in 2014, 15 about the startup boom, right? That was starting in India, where startups are, raising money and, a lot of, so I mean, I was always wanted to work on more challenging kind of innovative solution, and, probably was hearing a lot about startup space in that space, in that direction. So kind of in 2017, we kind of decided to take a jump on, from the lot of stack that we already had, from the team that we already had, kind of pick the best of the guys and decided to start working on conversational AI. So we already had some of the tech stack built on chat and voice, and we were hearing that AI would be the next buzz around. A lot of redundant queries would get automated in next 5 years, etc. And we already had a 30-40% kind of stack built readily. So we thought, let's add AI layer and start working on it, right? So that's how we participated in few hackathons in 2017. We won a few of them in chatbot. That time chatbot was kind of little hot, so and that was the triggering point to just shut down my previous services company and get started with Floatbot. So when we were ready to launch in end of 17, we thought of this word Floatbot, and something that can a bot that can float around any communication channel, right? And so that's how the name came in. And by the time we were almost ready with the product, it took about 6 months to kind of get the first MVP. And so yeah, we formally launched in 2017, and we in fact did all of this from a tier 3 city in India. And then in 2018, mid of 18, we got incubated in Nascom in Bangalore. So then we set up our office in Bangalore. So yeah, that's been the history. So kind of an accidental entrepreneur, because I couldn't get through one of the B schools that I wanted to get into, and that entrepreneur journey kind of led to another entrepreneur journey in a startup kind of a product world from services. So yeah, that's and since then, obviously, there's always a deep hunger to kind of be leader in the space that that I am in. And so one thing led to another, and obviously we had to. It was not like a lot of entrepreneurs, like other entrepreneurs, who know that this is a problem they're going to solve and then they start working on it. It was the other way around for us, where jumped into this space, and then we kind of worked our way in 18 and 19, and to find out what really are the problems that we are solving, and then to emerge and get better and better into it, right? So yeah, that's been the journey. Quite unconventional, but that's what the reality is.
Yeah. I wouldn't call it completely accidental, because as you mentioned, right, you come from a business family, so clearly entrepreneurship was in your blood, right? And sometimes serendipity, I think, gives us the best solutions that, cool, calculated, methodical thinking might not get there. And suddenly you have these, flashes.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that that's true. I mean, since childhood, I've been participating in a lot of my dad's meetings, and so I've seen how business, that's a different business altogether, but still a traditional business. But yeah, still. But I believe the most important is, once we, hats off to Vijay. I mean, once somebody ages further, it's difficult for them to take risk, and they start doing a lot of calculations, and the more you calculate, the difficult it becomes to jump into the entrepreneurship boat, because
Yes.
it's tough, right? I mean, you'll first 2-3 years forget about salary. You'll be literally our closing accounts to pay our people, and so yeah, I mean, and it was also that we really had to struggle for a year plus. When we just launched, when we had our first customer, we thought, hey, we're going to get the funding. We've been hearing a lot, so so now it's the time. And when we went to the market, we kind of realized that here, this it's an overcrowded space. How are you different? I mean, we just launched, and so yeah, I mean, so we really had to carve out a lot of our differentiators and value propositions. I mean, obviously my strength always lied in building very, very robust futuristic product, while I was in GE and understanding the business better, like no one else can, to get the business insight. And I mean, we started translating a lot of those into our product slowly and gradually to carve out our differentiators. And although we were a little late so we were not the first ones to launch a chatbot, right? There were players before us as well that did. But then subsequently, we launched, few more modules on voice, and we kind of were not late. We were kind of at par or a little ahead of the market. And so, although we were late to start with, but few of the product enhancements, we were very aggressive to kind of launch it ahead of the market and get ahead of the market curve. So I believe that was the insights that that I got, or else the deep desire to be the leader, to not kind of just be turned down by few investors saying that
You're not ready yet.
It's a crowded space. Yeah, it's a crowded space. I mean, we are not going to like invest in you. I mean, and it's little hard to hear that when you just launch, right? So yeah. I mean, it took, like, I would say, a good journey, but yeah, a lot of lessons to share. And the first being, that do trust in yourself, and
I think that part can be. I think that part, Jimmy, can be a bit tricky, right? If you're in a space that almost nobody else is in, you're wrong, because clearly there's no market. If you're in a space where the market is huge and it's mature and there are a lot of other players, then it's crowded, right? So either way,
I think, and trust me, to be honest, nobody can predict the market, and actually for us, and I think Ankush can talk a little bit. So 2017, although there were players, the market was not mature for conversational AI. In fact, it's the pandemic that kind of matured it, and it's further
accelerated it, and we absolutely.
It's just that there were players and there was competition, but the market as such was still not mature. So there are various aspects of that, hey, you're getting into space which is competitive, but the market is still not mature. So there are indicators that you have to kind of get a pulse of, and you just have to stick to the journey, knowing that in next 4 to 5 years, it would mature. I had my mentors telling me in 18 or 19, hey, are you considering to pivot? Why are you still running it in 19 as well? Do you really think you should pivot? So basically, I think there's nothing wrong and right, to be honest. It's just that there are players right now in contact center which has been existing for the last 20 years, still raising rich amount of funds. In CRM that's raising. So I just believe that.
So Jimmy, we'll come back to you for another round of questions. I want to go on to Ankush, who's been waiting quite patiently. Ankush, let's talk about CoreOver. One of the things that made me take off my specs, high-powered specs, and wipe them again is I first read it as 40 plus million users. And I was like, wow, no, I've missed a zero. So I've put them on again, like 400 plus million users on your system, right? And the way that it's branded, CoreOver, it's the world's first and highest ROI delivering human-centric conversational AI platform, right? Which is powered with proprietary cognitive AI framework, offering managed chatbot as a service. I want you to help unpack that into absolute layman terms for us and explain what it is that makes CoreOver so special.
Yeah, so I can take us as a consumer or us as a company. So let me take us as a consumer side of it, right? Which is more, and we should worry more about the users than the companies. So if we help users, then companies would anyways love us. So our vision is to help consumer talk to any system. So whether it's e-commerce or banking or utility portal, the way user talks to another person. Right. So in, I think, one of the previous videos in Nascom, I said, so it's still 3% adoption is there in India for e-commerce. And in the US is 15%. And we technologists give technology to the people who are already using technology, right? A little bit of innovation and user experience better. And so they're not smart. Everyone is not smart digitally, right? They might be smart life wise, but not the digital smart. So
Mhm.
3%, right? Rest 97% people, they still go to dukan, right? Kirana store and buy the stuff. So what would be the reason? Not sure, but still. So when the e-commerce came into picture, add to cart, checkout, they were very new, right? Were we using all of these earlier? No, but I think we learned
Right.
it. Probably we are digitally aware people, and it was seamless for us, but not for others. So yes, so you read it right, and 400 million plus users, and that makes us aware what consumers look for, right? What are the real problems? Most of us come with the idea and say, hey, this is the idea, this is the product. Now let's see where to fit this solution, right? So so there are people, they're looking for solutions, because the problem exists, and as a core over, we just picked up the problem to help consumers, uh, help them do commerce, or help them interact with any system, help them answer, or seek information about anything in the language of their choice, format of their choice, and even the channel of their choice, right? Instead of we asking them to come to us, to our
Mhm.
app, right? So now you see a lot of people promoting. They're doing a lot of ads physically and saying download that app, right? So now the idea is, right, to go wherever user is. If user is comfortable in WhatsApp, let that be. Kiosks, now we're installing kiosks in the railway stations, phone call, right? IVR bots, which Jimmy also mentioned. So yeah, so any channel of user choice, any language of user choice. Why just English and Hindi, right?
Right.
It is about India. Any language, we support 12 Indian languages, 100 plus foreign languages. So the idea is we are understanding users, we are understanding their problems, and just keep evolving our platform to help them. Yes, it's a crowded market, as Jimmy rightly mentioned, and again, so we are competitors, but we are in touch frequently. So yeah, so there is a problem, right? So we can have as many competitors as possible, because ev- it's just a start, right? It's, as Jimmy rightly said, it started in pandemic. So very happy to say last week we have raised $1 million deal. We have closed
Wow.
$1 million deal with just one chatbot in.
Congratulations.
Yeah, and let me tell you, that's not even our cumulative revenue, right? So now people are ready to adopt these kind of technologies, because earlier we were thinking it doesn't work, right? And even Jimmy rightly said, right? So people were not even mature, companies were not mature, and actually it was counterproductive. So a lot of Lena or Eva were there, and we are ready to help, and bots were not helping. Now also, if you see the technology aware people, we hardly use voice because we think voice will not work, right? So it is our kind of stereotyping. We think it doesn't work, but AI has improved,
It's
computing has
it's it's
improved.
it's a mindset block, right? We have assumed that ye ho nahi payega. Therefore, we are looking at other options.
Exactly. But if you see the kids, they don't know what is written, but they interact everything with the voice, right? It
Mhm.
works. So now people are taking time. When I say people, in this case, organization, enterprises are taking time to understand these things work, and it is just a start. Even Gartner says, right? So less than 2% of the companies who should use chatbot, they are using chatbot. So it's kind of huge market. Right, it's 98% market is still available. So it's about the
Mm.
chatbot. What we see is any consumer touch point can be automated, right? That can be my $5 trillion customer support market. So, and see, so since we have a lot of users, and we know a lot of simple insights, right, which are very, very exciting. So though we all are different, we have different problems, but if you see even the biggest of our customers, and they have kind of millions of users and millions of different questions which can be asked. But if you see the dashboard, those are only 10 or 20 questions which are repeatedly asked on the daily basis. So 70 to 80% of the questions, or the complaints, or the suggestions which people come up with, any sector, any company you think
Mhm.
about, are same. It is just a matter of identifying those, automating those intelligently. But the people asking the same question in different ways are more, right? Different languages, different dialects, different tones, and all that. So
Yes.
that is how the AI has to be better to understand what user is saying and give that answer. And answer anyways we have. It's just understanding user is the key here. And
Wonderful.
again, one more aspect, and then I'll kind of stop speaking, is we build bots, but
Mhm.
practically people don't want to talk to the bots. We even are aware of these facts, right? So we have kept our videos on. We could have actually spoken on the teleconferencing also, right? We are social beings. We want to talk to real people. So but bots are good to play with, to see innovation, but as business as usual and people interacting with the bots on daily basis, we have to be innovative there as well. So that's why human centric conversational AI platform we came up with. So it means an attempt to make the bots as human as possible. So besides chatbot and voice bot, we went a step ahead. We got video bot. That's our IP in terms of the trademark, and also IP in India, UK, Singapore, and a few other countries. We have a video bot. We make a bot out of a
Mhm.
real person. Well, so exciting journey just started. It's very, very exciting. So we can have as many players as possible, but the big
But the
so
market is
many
huge, right? And it's actually expanding. It's not even been explored to
not
any sort of great
so
degree.
exactly. Even Satya Nadella in one of the conferences, he said, if you want to if you want to implement AI, go implement chatbot first. And even he said, next 5 years, all websites would have chatbot. So what we
Hmm.
believe, whether you have website or not, you need to have chatbot, right? So why we are being creative in website, right? We think, hey, the website should be creative. It's just for the information purpose. You think
Right.
about, so one site, you think about SBI, a website. We don't have any association, just a brand. I just picked up
Hmm.
the name.
Hmm.
Go to the website. So if you want to look whether do sbi.co.in gives home loan or not, you need to see multiple menu options, right? And it takes time. So if there had been chatbot, you go check, hey, do you have home loan? If it is there, say yes, this. If not, come out of it. I have not wasted my
Hmm.
time as a user. They come to know how many people are looking for what kind of product. So,
Right.
and why we multiple menu options, right? Why the success of WhatsApp? Because it's so simple, unified experience, right? So in
Yes.
website, we are giving different, our menu should be different, different image and all that. So creativity is killing that unified thing and easiness for the common people to actually use the technology.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to take a quick cue from what Jimmy said earlier, and that was around the aspiration, the academic aspiration of being associated or being educated in premier educational institutes, right? Brands. Now, Ankush, that is quite applicable in your case. You're a BITS Pilani alum, and then, if I'm not mistaken, you did your executive MBA program at IIM, and more recently at the MIT Sloan School of Management, you did your 101 uh, entrepreneurship program, the leadership program, right? So, taking that cue, how has this kind of, or this level of sort of educational, training sharpened your acumen as an entrepreneur?
I think it just gives you initial framework and confidence to start. But once you are in the war room or in, then I don't think we even think what we have studied. It's all about what is the current problem in the table. We have to solve it immediately. So these frameworks are good. They give you structure. They give you some confidence, right? To start with, right? No one tells in which situation what we should do, right? Whatever we have studied in MBAs and
Mm-hmm.
other programs, just these options are there. But what you to apply, no one says that, right? So uh, then if education does not tell us in which scenario what do we do, then we have to be very, very pragmatic and situationally aware, um, what is the current problem and what are the domain and what are the challenges we have in doing that. They are helpful initially, probably, and they might help, right? We don't know what helps and what not, right? You are as a person, right? So you have your few things already embedded in you, few things you are consciously involved and take the decision.
Mm-hmm.
So I cannot pick up whether some things have really helped or not, but I would say these things help initially to start. Later, not sure, right? The situations are different and different problems to solve.
Right, exactly. Great. So Vijay, we'll come back to you,
Yeah.
and we'll pick it up from where we were, right? So you gave us an overview of Plum 5. Now tell us what it is specifically that differentiates it from others in its class. What's the specific USP? What's the magic sauce of Plum 5?
So the magic sauce or the secret sauce, it's basically bringing all the touch points of consumers for a particular business or a brand, and you are able to see it in one single go, which means, let's say there is a behavioral journey of visitors starting from website to mobile to bot, behavior in email, behavior in an SMS, behavior in social. Now, these are all different touch point areas, right? Now, the data, whatever happens, it remains in that particular touch point, right? If I'm talking about web analytics, web behavioral data sits in one place. You're talking about chat sits in one place. You're talking about email sits in a separate engine. Now, what happens is there is a scheme of things that happens in a customer life cycle, starting from an anonymous visitor to a lead, then to a customer, then a repeat customer, then advocates. Basically, he's an advocate. He becomes a brand ambassador. So very valuable customer. So these are the 5 stages in which any business operates typically, and you should be guardian of that kind of a data so that you can actually know what is the kind of state in which your current prospects are or customers are, right? So that you could either convert every stage of your marketing goal so that you could achieve your objective. Basically, the moment I have about 100 visitors on my website for the next 2 hours, which means just let's look at it in a scenario where we have a physical business open, where 200 visitors are walking in asking for it. So it's kind of similar thing, but then at ease. Perhaps the conversions would be much lower in online than offline. But the point is, he's a visitor to your website. So would you not like to know? Basically, you try to capture the first party information, which is what you need to have the behavioral data. Perhaps you wouldn't know who that individual is at an individual but as a machine identification, you'd know, and you'll capture his journey. Now that journey gets tagged along when he visits again in the anonymous state, so that you actually identify the intent of that visitor. For example, if he signs up, then you actually get to know his contactable contact. Then you start trying to reach out to him so that you could persuade him in achieving your objectives. The objective would be to understand what he wants. Perhaps it could be a sales or a service related issue, or a requirement or an opportunity that he's looking for. So we try to solve this by having this journey stitched in one place. And now this can be used in different use cases where, for example, somebody is spending a lot of budget on garnering audience. Now audience are coming in, which is good, but then they're not spending quality time. A. B, they're not revealing their identity. They are not actually doing the next step that is expected out of that. Could be a scenario. Now, how do you entice these visitors? How do you actually bring them, whether it can be any touch point, it can be, so in all these areas, you need to have a real-time data to be captured in one single place. When you have the real-time data, you actually get to know the customer state. In that customer state, you actually channelize your next communication. Let me put it very simple use cases, which you and I, or probably all of us in this room, one of us definitely would have come across. We would have gone and purchased a product X at a cost, say 100 rupees. And then after a week or probably a few days, you don't know, you would get the same thing with a 10% off. You would receive an email, right? Or in one of the cases which I know was, he received an email within the next day, 25% off on the spectacles that you bought. The question is same model, and it's reaching your inbox. And now, why is it? Because you didn't know the customer state. He bought it yesterday in your own shop. That data is sitting somewhere else. But you went ahead and gave him it annoys him, right? He doesn't like it. I mean, I walked in yesterday, you didn't today, you're promoting me the same product. I already purchased it. This is
You feel like you're cheated.
absolutely. So if you knew, you would have told it, perhaps you wouldn't be promoting that product to him. See,
Right.
it's not wrong what the business did, but that's how business scenarios are. You will be promoting, you will be discounting. That's part of business life. But then, whom are you targeting? How are you addressing it? Matters a lot. Which means N is equal to 1. That is, every single customer at scale also has personalization. Which means you would like to know what his choice and preferences are. Then if you address him the right way, then perhaps that becomes a better, sweeter interaction for him to be having a better brand affinity to achieve the marketing goals. So this is the problem that we solve. So businesses have data sitting in different disparate systems. We bring them together. We have got our own first-party data collection, web analytics tool. We have widget engagement through real-time engagement, which means we understand what the behavior of the visitor is. At the right time to the right person, we try to help businesses to target them with the right offer, right message, very contextual, very relevant, very personalized. So this makes it easy for them to move forward, and then thereby automation kicks in to move on to the next stages of customer life cycle, and you keep propagating that journey. So that's what we do.
Wonderful, wonderful. Jimmy, we'll go on to you next. And correct me if I'm wrong, but the way that I understand it is that the bulk of your customers or the sector of your focus is basically banking and financial services. So tell us in terms of the value proposition, right, that you bring to the table and how you're able to serve customers in this space better, with probably a couple of use cases and examples to bring it to life.
So yeah, I mean, that's also, I would say, in a way, somebody would say you're restricting your market, but yeah, I mean, that's the good part of, whether you want to be a foot deep or you want to be an inch wide, right? That's a choice, and nothing is wrong or right. Hey, I mean, you have super focused companies, and there are companies like Monday.com, and there's so much horizontal. So for us, right, I mean, we are working on few problems that we kind of discovered, and we found that our solution is the right fit for those problems. So that was and the second thing is, we also kind of evaluated how big is the market size for those problems that we are solving, and the standard stuff. So yeah, those were the key factors to kind of go behind this specific use cases and specific verticals. And hey, because it's I personally believe that in AI, it's better to be focused on few elements, and it helps to sell the technology and it helps to sell a solution and not just technology. So we start talking in customers' language. We start using the terminologies that the functional or the business users are using, etc. So yeah, I mean, pretty much we have a set of use cases that we are solving with conversational AI technology in these industries and across different regions. So that comprises on what we are working on. And so yeah, I mean, those are something we kind of discovered, and while talking with customers and kind of realizing that probably we may be a right fit on this. Yeah.
I mean, that's an interesting thing, right? And question I'll maybe talk to you about it as well is, on the one hand, as technology specialists, right, you're looking at creating chatbots that deliver value. You're looking at speech to text conversions. You're looking at conversion and supporting multiple different languages within India and also global languages across the world. But end of the day, when you're talking to a customer, right? You're a human being interacting with another human being. And I think sometimes there can be either a challenge or it can be a temptation for an entrepreneur to be too engrossed in his terminology and the jargon, to be too much in love with the product and not be able to really relate to the customer, right? And be able to talk his language, as Jimmy was saying. Have you ever, seen this happen and stopped yourself or caught yourself doing that or seen others doing that and gone,
Yeah. So no, thanks for asking. So yeah. So even when we were very, very small, even 3 people company and now, so we always had differentiation. Uh, like we have a product focused team and the customer focused team. So we call it as R&D or core team, and the second is a delivery team. So so the R&D team would just implement the roadmap, whatever we created wearing that product manager hat. So whether a customer needs it or not. So we added many features which probably were not asked by our customers, and then the customers asked for it later, or we pitched those features later and sold those features. The second is the customer success of the delivery team. So now we are very clear 2 different teams. So when we are meeting customers, it's all customer. So sometimes when they ask, "Hey, do you do this?" We say, uh, "We we do this only when you take our chatbot. Uh, if you don't take our chatbot, don't do say RPA or IoT or augmented reality or virtual reality. But if you take chatbot, whatever it takes, whether it's IoT, AR, VR, whatever it takes, we do, provided the core is that virtual assistant." So when we are wearing that customer, the delivery team hat, when we are meeting customer, most of the times I are the person who is meeting with the customer. We don't say no because they know the problem, right? So, um, and they're paying for it, and I don't shy away saying, "Hey, we are a SaaS-based product platform, and we do a bit of service also."
right?
So we do have a service component about it. It's not a game, right? So we have a platform and everyone uses the same, especially when you're talking to the serious customers. See, if you see the logos in our website, most of our customers are very, very big. We cannot say, no,
Mhm.
no, this is platform, is a product company, you take it.
This is what it is. This is all that we'll do. You take it or like it or leave it or sorry.
So that is a separate mindset, and that is a separate, we are not subscribed to it yet. We might change it. We have the self-onboarding platform, but we have not released it. Our self-onboarding platform is for our team members to create the bot for the customer. We have not trained this. We have trained our partners who create the bot for their customers, but not to the end customer, right? So so there is a lot of enticement, and right, people think it's self-onboarding platform. They're very cheap solution, kind of less expensive solutions on the market. But what I believe, if it is a customer company, if you see the social media handling, when we were very, very small, we were paying to the digital marketing company to post one post every day, right? Even when we were very small, even posting also we outsource. Only Google ad we outsource. Then how and why do we expect a big company would create a chatbot themselves, right? So that was the temptation, right? So we technologists have no, let customer create their own chatbot. So even if it is very simple, we even have created a chatbot in 12 minutes. But that doesn't mean we ask our customers to create the
Customers
bots.
to do that, right? Yeah.
Let them be
Because
good
that's
at
not their core business. It's their requirement. It's not their core business. It's not their core area of competence, right? And that's the fallacy that sometimes technologists fall into. That because it's so easy for me, it's so natural for me. It's like drinking a cup of water or coffee, right? This is
Yeah,
all it takes. Why can't you do it? You know. And the other person's like, okay, मैं दो हाथ से पकड़ूं. How do I do it? The cup is too hot. All of these things, right? I don't
right,
like the color. So many things.
right, right. And they say, no, give us the platform we create. I said, we will give you the platform when you give us a chatbot order more than one. If you give
Hmm.
us more than one chatbot use case, then you create the bot. For one use case doesn't make sense, because
Doesn't
we
make sense.
first then as you said, right, even if there can be very different questions and all that. So that's how we, as to answer your question, we definitely go with what customer says, and that has actually given us a lot of references, right? So we picked up big customer, and then even our main focus is always to pick up customer, make them happy so much so that they start selling our solution. And it has happened, like IRCTC, right? I can openly say that they are a bigger customer and they become our partner also. They closed one deal for us last week. So now they are selling our solution. And
Mm-hmm.
right. So and many. So Mahindra, we gave them the bot for one of their business units. Now we are working with four of their business units. So we always think, strive to make sure our customer is so happy. So whatever deal size, whatever cost, that is one. Before we start work, that is agreed. But once we start working on it, we have to make sure they are very, very happy, so that they become our official partner. If they don't have mandate, but at least a good reference for our future business. And we say yes to whatever they say. But most
which
of the
is
time,
which is
we'll be,
which is very insightful. I mean, so you're saying, right? We're saying yes to whatever they're saying. We are being quite sort of flexible, malleable, but at the same time, what comes out very clearly, very strongly, is that whenever you're negotiating for a final deal, you're always bringing them back to your anchor. So you're anchoring them back in your core product, and you're saying, okay, give us this, or give us X plus Y, then we will have all of these additional things that you want for you. But the core, the kernel remains the same. So
yeah,
from your business proposition standpoint, you're always bringing them back to that core. And only then can we give you these additional things, which I think
that's
is very important, particularly for aspiring entrepreneurs and many sort of people who are beginning the entrepreneurial journey. Because initially, I think the temptation is very, very high, particularly when you have a big brand with a big logo and a huge history, right? That kind of a customer is talking to you and says, okay, I need this customized, that customized, the other customized. There's always a tendency to say yes, yes, yes to everything and forget what your core offering is, even to the extent of saying, yeah, fine. I mean, if you want it, that's good. If you don't want it, we'll just create something completely out of the box for you. I think is a temptation that is
I
there
was
for a lot.
so most of the right. So it's I think we might have 60,000 startups in India, but finding a trustworthy company is still a challenge for a bigger company, right? So when they partner with you, I think they don't just partner with you for the product you have. So they see a lot of options, and especially in the initial meetings they will ask you a lot of stuff. They might see everything they ask, they know they have to pay, right? So if you cut it, no, I don't do this, I don't do this, I don't do some things, and then probably they would think, no, they don't have capability. So I think so when the customers ask for it, so that doesn't mean they want in phase one, right? So they might look for your capability or your ecosystem. Hey, if you don't do it, can you bring a trusted partner? Because trust is very, very important. I have seen the bigger companies, they're taking a year or more to trust, especially a startup, because when you do something, the millions of their customers or users would get impacted. So they do not just get probably happy with the demo and the product and then they give you order, right? A lot of things are involved. So we have to go through the cycle, and the trust building is very, very important. So when they invest so much, so even when you give something free, they still have invested in you, right? They are giving you the domain knowledge, they are giving you the use cases, their time. So they will not give
Their
that.
time, the experience, right? The testimonial and beginning, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Some of the customers may not be paying you, but the very fact that you are able to hone and refine your product based on that use case, and sometimes they will say, okay, fine, I'll give you a testimonial. So they become your brand ambassador. They become your champion in a way, right?
And let me one thing. So even the PR thing and testimonials, we write that in our agreements also. So those are very important for us,
Yeah,
especially for the
yeah.
start. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. That's kind of where I was coming from. We've come to the last leg of our program, and it's been engrossing. What I want to do is go in reverse order. So maybe Ankush, you, and then Jimmy, and then we'll end with Vijay. And we want to talk about the COVID scenario, right? what has this meant, very briefly, what has this meant for your firm and for your set of services? And the second part of the question is a large number of people today, right? Um, many of them have shut shop. Many of them are struggling to make ends meet and to keep their businesses operational. Many people may have had a plan and, together with some kind of a capital or seed investment to come in last year. And then they said, no, okay, fine, we'll do it in 2021, right? And Jan and Feb, things were looking good. And then March onwards, again, we had the second wave. So two parts of the question. A, what's the pandemic situation or the experience been for you? And two, what would your advice be to aspiring entrepreneurs who are thinking whether or not to come in at this stage, or entrepreneurs who are struggling and who are thinking, okay, you know what, let me just, close it up. Let me just pivot and go off and do something else. So yeah, Ankush, we'll start with you.
Right. So I think me, Vijay, so I think I'm sure it's a kind of blessing in disguise for us, right? So automation, so that has picked up kind of exponentially. So during this COVID, because and we during COVID time we have done around 80 plus implementations. And April, right, it was just the start of pandemic, and I know a few orders which were pending, and those were accelerated. They said people are not coming to our call centers, and that is not something they can work from home, because the call has to land in the call center. So one of our customers, they had 120 people in the call center, and people were not coming up, and very fast we implemented. And after the bot, around only 60 people were required. So it's not like taking away from the jobs, but the people are creative and they can definitely be utilized, leveraged in other services. So during COVID, our kind of technology became more relevant. And so that is the plus point. And I think the negative point is now all digital companies are hiring, and it's really, really difficult to find the right talent. We are always kind of on hiring, and it's really difficult to find talent for startups. Personally, I see the trust and the problem solving capabilities more than any tech stack stuff. It is difficult to kind of gauge. And people are paying more, right? So people are even earlier the standard salary hikes were say 20-30%. Now it's kind of double, triple. So that's kind of gone crazy. So my advice to, as you asked about the young entrepreneurs about this, whether it would start, close, or whatever. So I think that would depend upon what problem they are going to solve. Few problems are not relevant. Few problems are kind of more relevant now. A few opportunities have come up during COVID. So I think that is just external factor that can keep coming and going, and they anyways have to take decision based on whatever is the current circumstances. But the good thing is we should be dare, we should dare enough to stop. So right, so when I played the program managers and the project manager role also in the corporate, and people in the interview, people used to ask me, tell me where you failed. I said, we failed means what? We made the project fail, because that time it was the right decision to make the project fail, because so that the same time and resources we could utilize in other projects.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
So we should not just, you scribe for something and you continue with that same, whether the problem is relevant or not. So I think we have to be emotional, but not too emotional. So take the right decision. If you have to pivot, no harm in pivoting, because it's not just the product which matters. It's kind of your experience would help, your connections, your the trust which you have gained. The same people will give you work in other use cases out there, because if you have already built a trust, if you continue doing something which you are good at, even if the other thing you do, you would be good at doing that. So dare enough to even pivot when the problem is no more relevant in the current scenario.
Right. Good. Jimmy, your views on this? What's the experience been? How's COVID been for you, and your advice to
So,
start?
yeah, I think, see, COVID was a tough time personally for everyone. No doubt about it. A lot of, I feel bad about a lot of SMEs, mom and pop shops that had to struggle a lot. But I think digitally we were, whoever is in digital world were fortunate, and everything became digital overnight, or had to be digital overnight. So I think it was a good period for all of us. I mean, not just for SaaS, not just for startups, but I believe Infosys, TCS, Wipro, everyone, racked in, and their share price increased, and they signed huge contracts, etc. So everyone made money who are in digital space, right? For us specifically, it went really well. We were able to kind of cross our revenue 20x, in a short span. So that kind of helped us. It's kind of unbelievable, but still we were able to do that. Definitely, I saw a lot of businesses coming back and asking for deeper discounts, saying that we want this, but we don't have. Or maybe I think they were using COVID as an excuse as well.
I think sometimes it was a very sort of smart negotiating strategy to say, no, I don't have cash flow, I have cash flow problems, I have budget constraints. Exactly. It becomes a very good strategy
exactly.
to
not just to get discount, but to delay the payments, saying that it's COVID. Yeah, because our own payments are stuck. And the most basic thing would be in COVID, half of the team is not available to approve the payment. So yeah, I mean, a lot of customers did use such strategies, but overall, I think all in all, it definitely, everyone knows it accelerated the digital adoption in all the companies. So yeah, overall it so for example, we are talking on this retail, right? So yes, I mean, retail was one of the vertical that was on the that was suffering, right? I mean, an entire year, and still that right now people have just begun to going to malls. They are still kind of thinking whether they should, and that's where the retail tech is coming up, and that's why we are on this call, right? And that's what Vijay talked about, how to digitally engage customers better. So I believe that it went well for anybody that was in the tech enablement that digitally allowed to transact, to engage, let that be employees, customers, or let that be anything, right? Even this video calls, I think there were startups that came up from nowhere on this video conferencing that kind of racked in $100 million in valuation overnight, right? I mean, including, I think StreamYard, I never heard, probably we would have never heard about this in a year back. So
StreamYard,
I think a lot of things changed. Yeah, I mean, a lot of things changed. People, the salaries skyrocketed. I think 75 to 100% hike for a job change became normal. So became a norm, and so yeah, I think overall it just went well for us and anybody who in the tech field. I feel sorry for people who suffered personally, as well as whose business suffered personally with COVID. I think it's a learning to for everyone, kind of, to how should it be more adaptable in future such crisis that may come again. So
yeah, absolutely. Vijay, we'll end with this. What are your views? What's the experience been for you, first of all, and what's your advice for aspiring entrepreneurs at this time? Vijay, I don't know if it's my connection or yours, but your screen just froze.
Yeah, I think Vijay's screen is frozen.
Yeah. Right. Okay, we've just gone over the hour. So Vijay, in absentia, yes, just dropped off. Ankush, Jimmy, it's been a wonderful session. very enriching, very engaging. I've personally learned a lot from your insights and your experience. So for the viewers, right, we started by saying this is the first of a 3-part series. Now, what we want to say is do join us for the remaining 2 episodes for this particular NIPP Retail Tech Challenge 2021 special series that we're doing. And the 2 dates are September the 22nd and September the 29th, when we're going to showcase more of these stars and more of these success stories in the startup firmament. Until then, stay safe. Thank you and goodbye.